Hi, and welcome to the Art Scene Music Business Workshop. I am your host, Jonathan Shaw, and we are proudly sponsored by the National Arts Council. Welcome to the third video, where we'll be looking at the recorded music supply chain in the music industries. So, the first thing we consider in the recorded music supply chain. Now remember, in the second video we spoke about music publishing, and music publishing had everything to do with the song. So the music, the lyrics, the composition, everything to do with the song was owned by the author of the music or inevitably passed on to the music publisher. Now, don't get confused between a music publisher shopping a song and a recorded music owner or record company that shops recordings of songs. So the two are interlinked, but historically they've often been two separate businesses. Most of the time when you find that when you have major recording companies and major entertainment companies, they have a publishing division that deals with shopping the song only, and then a recorded music division that deals with artists and creating recordings and pushing those out into the various platforms and getting them to make money for you at the end of the day. So it all starts with the music owner, somebody who's got a song that they want to punt to a record company. Now, the license that they will give to the record company is called a mechanical license. Now, this in South African law, there's no such thing as a mechanical license, but in America they called it this word, and it's stuck in its industry jargon that we use all the time. So they supply a mechanical license, and this could be an invoice that simply says that they allowed to use the song for a particular reason. And more likely, it is administered through a collective management organization, as we saw in the last video. And that collective management organization will issue an invoice that will say they're allowed to create reproductions or a certain amount of reproductions, or the license terms that the user is going to use it for. So that mechanical license gets passed on to a record company. So the record company applies for the license, they receive the license, they can now use the song. How it sort of works nowadays is that you'll have, say, for example, an artist who wants to record the song that's written by somebody else. They can simply go and record that song, and when they want to then put it out to the public through digital platforms, they then apply for a mechanical license to be able to do that. So anyway, the record company, who is the record owner or the owner of the sound recording that's getting created in a recording studio, they will then have a artist or a principal artist go and record the song. There might be a lot of different people involved. So there's the principal artist, there's all the session musicians that might be involved, or some sort of producer who's arranging all the music electronically, or it could be a whole orchestra that's involved in doing the recording. But the artist is usually the person that's featured on the front cover. And then, of course, there's all the people that go into making that, such as the recording engineers and everybody else that's involved in the process. And so the artists will then hand over to the record company what is called a performance rights. And this shouldn't be confused with what we know as performing rights. So performing rights are the rights of intellectual property, such as copyright, such as sound recordings, musical works, literary works, everything we've spoken about up to this point. And of course, if we add music videos into the picture, maybe music videos, but a performing right is the right of that copyright work to be performed in public. Whereas an artist supplies their performance rights. So as an individual, you have rights to your performances. In South African law, we have a separate act at the moment called the Performers Protection Act, which it works in tandem with the Copyright Act, and we often call those rights neighboring rights. In many other countries, sound recordings are a neighboring right, but in South Africa, sound recordings are lumped together with musical works, literary works, cinematograph works such as videos, and so on. And you'll see that obviously with every work, they have their own set of rights, which we'll discuss later. And so moving on from the artist supplying their performing rights to the record company then will then deal with a physical distributor. So if we talk about days gone past, and this might happen sometimes, for example, with special releases on vinyl nowadays, or even special CD releases that still happen, they will work with a physical distributor who takes a whole bunch of stock of CDs or vinyls or cassette tapes and will then push them out to the different retailers that still exist in the market. In South Africa, Musica is one of the biggest physical retailers that's still operating at the moment. The physical retailer will then sell it on to the public. Then the record company will deal often with a concrete content aggregator of some sort. And the content aggregator then pushes the data of the music and the metadata, so the data being the actual recording file, the WAV files, as it were, and then the metadata is all the data that describes that file. So, for example, the artist name, the song name, producers that were involved, genre, all of those things get captured by the content aggregator that then feeds that data and processes that data. Even the video data and the photographs, which are content in themselves, they get passed on to the retail stores. And so it lands up in the stores, and then the same thing, it gets allowed to be purchased by the authorized purchaser. Now, if you talk 10 years ago, for example, there was a big question about whether digital music would actually survive online, and most of the time it was being pirated. And while there is some intangible value in people just having your work, you need to make money somehow, and that's through authorized purchases. And then finally, similarly to music publishing, you had collective management organizations. So in South Africa, we have SAMPRA, the South African Music Performance Rights Association. And don't let the names confuse you. So SAMRO deals with music and the performing rights of music, and COPASO deals with the reproduction rights of music, and SAMPRA, for example, deals with the performing rights of sound recordings. Same with IMPRA. They are another organization that collects sound recording performance royalties. And then ECHO, who collects music video royalties, and RISA Audiovisual that collects music video royalties. So there's lots of different parties or collective management organizations in South Africa that are collecting royalties for different people. And of course, then the CMO licenses these on to different users. And the record company and the music publisher can license directly for synchronization rights in musical works, as well as sound recordings. And those rights are sometimes done for big advertising campaigns. But generally, all the small transactional rights are handled by the collective management organization, as well as any blanket rights. So any rights that are easily licensed to a whole number of people, the CMOs will then take care of. And that is our third video. I'll join you for the next one.